YouTube, what's going on, man? It's your boy Xerxes back at it again, and let me tell you, I got a banger for you today. What this build is, this is a tri-attribute stacking Molten Strike Inquisitor. Okay, so as you can see, I have 1061 dex, 1000 strength, and I'm working on trying to get my int up to 1000 too, just because I think it looks cool if you have 3 at 1000. But for the sake of the video, we're okay with where we're at. What I have lined up for you today is I'm going to run a Drox map. And this is the last one that I need for my Elder Slayer invitation. So I'm gonna run this real quick, and then I'll run the invitation as well for you guys, just to show you what the boss damage looks like. This is, I mean, without a doubt, the most boss damage that I've ever had on a character. I don't know how to accurately measure how much exact damage I'm doing, but as you'll see here when I kill Drox, it's a shit ton. I don't know what's going on with my computer lately too. Like stuff hasn't been like loading in, and I don't know what's going on, but it's a little laggy. So hopefully you guys will be able to see what's going on still, but I'm not really sure what's going on. I'm working on building a new computer right now, actually. Just got to get the GPU and the CPU, and then I'll be up and running. So hopefully the quality of the videos will be much better here fairly soon. So we're running Vol Molten Strike. You know, you don't necessarily need to use the Vol version of it when you're going around mapping, but you do get charges fairly quick. So it's a nice button to push every once in a while. I'm just gonna rush to the boss here, so you guys can so I don't end up making this video like an hour long. But it's not like the strongest mapper in the world. You can run faster proj instead of slower proj, and it'll be a little bit better, but I just like to keep slower proj in all the time. I picked like the worst map to do this showcase on too. I hate this map so much. Where you at, buddy? Oh, got a little map drop, a little strand drop, okay. Am I stupid? Like, what's going on here? It must be down here somewhere, huh? So much for making it a quick one. Please be over here somewhere. You gotta be kidding me. Oh my god, finally. Okay, here we go. So now you can see what the boss DPS looks like a little bit. I don't know where it's at. Hey, there we go. Okay. See, this is what I'm talking about with like this. Like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if anyone else or any of you guys have had these issues, but it's a pain in the ass. It's like, I tried to do a Maven fight earlier, and literally nothing was showing up. All the balls on the screen, I was just like had to kind of guess when they were coming. It was a pain in the ass. But anyway, let's do this. You see how quick he got phased right there? And he's dead. Okay, so sorry that took a little longer than planned, but let's get back in here. I'll show you the Elder Slayer one, and then we'll get into how the build works. Okay, so we'll throw this Elder Slayer, and this is just it's a 70 quant, nothing crazy, attack, cast speed, extra proj, so shouldn't be too big of a deal. You'll probably see it here when I run this Maven's Crucible too. Like, normally it shoots out the little things so you can figure out who's coming out. Can't see it for some reason. It's just, you just gotta kind of guess on who's coming. See, like, I have no idea. Is it over here maybe? I think. Yep. So Veritania's dead. El Heisman's dead. I don't know what's going on there. There you go. So wasn't really the best. I wish. Oh, I didn't even put my flasks on right there too. That's crazy. So my resistances were in this fight -4%, and I still survived, which is nice. So let's go over how this build works. Now I got the idea. This build has been around for a long time, but Mr. Captain Lance just posted a video on it recently, and I was kind of looking for something new to do after the Frostblades Trickster. So I saw this video. I thought, hey, I haven't played a build like this in a while, so let's give it a shot, right? So we'll kind of go over the premise of why you want to stack all three attributes, okay? Because it ties into a couple of items. The first one is Fractal Thoughts. So as you can see on here, it says you get extra crit multi if your dex is higher than your intelligence, which here it is. So we're getting 31% crit multi. You're going to get 15 increased dexterity if your strength is higher than your intelligence, which it is. Okay. Then you're going to get flat increased elemental damage per 10 dexterity and flat life for 10 intelligence. So as you can see, there's some benefits to why you want to stack all of these. Another item that pairs very well with this is the Cyclopean Coil. Okay, so and the rolls on this, not super important. The roll on your Cyclopean, you want to get 15% increased attributes, and then you hit that with attribute catalyst to get it up to 18. So as you can see here, we cannot be frozen if our dexterity is higher than our int, which it is, and we cannot be ignited if our strength is higher than dexterity, which it's not. So we still can get ignited, and it says you cannot be shocked if your intelligence is higher than strength, which it's not. So those two are still an issue. So we can be ignited and we can be shocked. And then we get another 1% increased damage per 5 of your lowest. So 984% increased, or 984 divided by 5, whichever that is. So that's a huge increased damage bonus right there. Okay, so the way that I'm dealing with the ignited and shocked, it's not the best way, but I'll show you here in my passive tree. Under the spell suppression mastery, you can get spell suppression, suppressed spell damage cannot inflict elemental ailments on you. So if it's a spell that hits you, we are 100% spell suppression capped, right? So you can see here, defense, 100% spell suppression. So if it's a spell that hits us, we're not going to get any elemental ailments. If it's an attack, we can get ignited and shocked, but we have so much recovery in this build that as long as you're attacking something, unless you get one shot, you're just not going to die. So those are two of the items that we're using. Okay, so now we have a sack walls, which is just a decent amount of evasion energy shield. It gives you 75 to all res. The rolls on this one are very important. I had a not so good one when I first started playing this build. I think I had like a 60, and the mana reservation efficiency was like, it was actually better. It was 18. And I have ran into a couple issues where I had to de-level my Frost Shield because I didn't have enough mana to cast it. So that is something that you can look into. If you're having mana issues, a real easy solution, because I'm not spec'd into the mana tree or mana wheel or the mana reservation efficiency. If you have any issues, just take a couple of points out and spec some points in here, and you'll be Gucci. But I'm dealing with it right now. I just had to de-level my Frost Shield 2 levels, and now I can actually cast it. It costs 45 mana, and I have exactly 45 mana, so it's cutting it close, but it works for now. So that goes over the chest, the helmet, and the belt. Now this is where the build gets a little bit expensive. Overall, it's hard to talk about cost, especially after a streamer puts a video up. This was 15 divines when I bought it, and that's like the brunt of the build cost mostly. So if you have like 50 divines, you can probably put this build together, right? Take that with a grain of salt. Okay, so you want a Nimbus, right? So your Molten Strike, as you can see right now, I'm shooting out 10 projectiles, and all of those projectiles return. So if I'm standing on top of a boss, I'm hitting it 20 times. It's insane. I fought Maven earlier and phased her in about 2 seconds. So it's a lot of damage. The other ring you're looking for, just strength, chaos res, intelligence. The minus mana cost to skills is nice. Like I said, we are running hardly any mana. And then some lead on there that I just ended up rolling this. So this is good. If you can get life on there too, that would be good as well. Cheap version, just an Astromantis. You want to get one that it rolls from 80 to 100. This one has 95. You hit that with attribute catalyst, it goes up to 114. So this is just a cheap way to do it. You can get like a 3-rat or a talisman or some, or, you know, Eyes of the Great Wolf with attributes and damage, attributes and crit multi, something like that. But those are very expensive. So this is just a cheap way to do it. And then you want to allocate utmost might on there, which is the I think it's like a flat amount to strength, 40 strength, and an 8% increased strength, and that's just amber, a blue, and a red, so not expensive there either. Okay, so that goes over those. You want to run Calm Spirit because we are Inquisitor, so we're always on consecrated ground, regen, and life. So your life regen applies to your rage regen. So as we're mapping, we're just constantly almost at full rage. It's very nice. In terms of implicits, you can get attack crit. It's a little bit more expensive. I think I paid 4 divines for this one. Another cheaper version would just be to get attack speed implicit, and that one's much cheaper. It's like 50 or 60 chaos, I think, because people corrupt these all day. The boots, you just want to run fractured strength. Ideally you want to get a enchant on here for damage pin, or for Ellie pin. I mean, if you haven't killed recently, I don't have that yet. But that is something that you would want to get there. And then increase life regen, action speed, strength, int, life, any res you can get. Res is extremely hard to have on this build, so you are going to need to get it where you can. I needed some cold res, so I got it on here. And then the bread and butter of the build are these 2 Hand of Wisdom and Action claws. And what they do is they give you increased dex and intelligence. You get 1% of attack damage leached as life, so that's even more life that you're getting back. And then the 2 main ones that you're looking for here are it gives flat damage, lightning damage to attacks per 10 int, and then it gives you attack speed per 25 dexterity. So I bought 2 of these when I first started the build, and this one I believe was like it rolls from 8 to 12 in terms of the increased intelligence and dexterity. And this one was like an 8 and 9, and I hit it with 1 divine orb, and it rolled perfect, and I was like, holy shit. So I tried to throw a couple more at this one, and this was the best that I got. So these are, I just looked recently, trying to get very good rolled ones of these is very expensive right now, but if you're just starting to build out, just to test it, just get one for like 1 divine and see if you like the build, and then go from there. You can spend more money later on down the road. Okay, so that covers all of the items. Now, one thing you might be confused about is I'm only using 3 flasks right here, right? And so the reason for that is because we're running a brutal restraint with Balbala. And what that does is it gives us the Trader Keystone. Okay, so like I said earlier, resistances are very hard to get on this build, and so you're not going to be res capped unless you have permanent flasks. So what this does basically is it lets your flask charges gain charges for every empty slot that you have. So what you do in the start of every map is you want to have 3. Ideally, any more than that makes it to where that you're not going to have permanent uptime on them. And I actually don't have permanent uptime on this one, but I don't need this. This is just extra evasion. So and my crit chance is capped, so I'm getting this all the time, but it's not something that auto renews, basically. So these 2 are the important ones. I needed extra cold res, so as you can see, my cold res is at -4, fire's at 33, and lightning's at 30. Okay, so if I pop these 2 flasks right now, I'm capped, and I'll stay capped forever without doing anything. So all you need to do is get reused at the end of Flask on this Aureus End. Oh, and if you don't want to spend the money to get an Aureus End, you can just use a regular bismuth flask that has some quality to it and reduced charges per use. And that one, I'll show you right now, will actually maintain as well without ever having to push it. So you're just going to be constantly capped all the time, which is nice. So that's the reason why I'm running this flask setup. Okay, now that covers all of the flasks. With this one, I just got extra elemental res. This one you obviously can't roll. This one I got crit chance on for when I'm doing bosses. And one thing that I can do actually is I don't know what exactly changed if I lost some cold res somewhere, because I was at 93. a minute ago for all of them. But now they're not. They used to be 93, 93, 93. Something happened where I lost a little bit of cold res, but it's not the end of the world. But you can run a Wise Oak as well for elemental penetration if you want to spend the time to line up your res. It's kind of a pain in the ass, but I noticed that I just had it, and so I figured I'd buy one. Okay, that covers all of the items. Let's go over the passive tree, right? So tree looks a little bit funky just because, you know, it's a lot of pathing, but when you're attribute stacking, especially in this league for tattoos, it might not look very efficient, but it actually is. Okay, so you basically just come down here. You do end up picking up Iron Will, which might sound a little strange because, you know, we're not doing spell damage, but what we use in this build is Battle Mage's Cry. And so what this says is that it makes increases and reductions to spell damage apply to attacks at 25% of their value. So we get, it's basically like, I don't know exactly how it works, but we have 1,000 strength. And so we're getting a shit ton of bonus spell damage, and that's getting converted back into attack damage by using Battle Mage's Cry. In Lance's build, he ended up hitting, what did he hit? He hit, on this right here. I believe he hit Call to Arms on this one. And so he didn't have to run Urgent Orders. But basically, to tie into this right here. So you are using 2 tattoos in here that are very expensive. I believe they're like 8 or 9 divines a piece, where your skills fire extra projectiles, and you need to spec all of these points around it in order for that to happen. This one, I believe, is normally like Perfect Agony or something like that, which you don't want because it's less damage with hits. So you are going to have to use a tattoo reroll and just hope that you can get one that doesn't brick your build. I got Glancing Blows on the first one and just was like, okay, you know what, that's fine. Extra, you know, chance to block attack damage. But you are running the 2 of these Tattoo of the Ramako Makanga. If you don't have the money to do it, you can get away with not doing this at first. And just try the build out and see if you like it. And then if you want to invest the money, because like I said, I believe it's like 20 divines for this, but it's an extra 4 projectiles. It's a lot of extra damage. And the reason these are doubled is because we're putting a Warrior's Tail right here. Okay, so this doubles the effect of all of the tattoos in the radius. So normally this would be 4 all attributes. This is 8. Normally this would be 1 additional projectile. It's now 2. So that's why if I hover over this, it's showing fires 10 projectiles. Okay, so all of this normal is just normal pathing, getting jewels with, you know, res if you can get them and need them, life, anything like that. Crit multi is good, you know, depends on how much you want to spend on a jewel. But all of these travel nodes here, you just use the Tattoo of the Tuatara, and this gives you all attributes. And I think you have to use like 25 or 26 of these, so it's a little expensive, but it's worth it, right? So we get Magebane here. That's how we end up suppressing or getting suppress capped. So just with this right here and this suppression will, we're at 100% spell suppression, which is nice, right? Just because we have so much dexterity. We do take a Watcher's Eye. Ideally, you would want one that has flat evade chance while you're affected by Grace. Those are like 10 divines, I want to say, and I got this one for like 200 chaos. But the main thing that you really want, you need to get that ES on hit while affected by discipline. That's the main thing. The flat chance to evade is just nice once you want to start doing some tougher content. Okay. You do use an Honored Tattoo of the Paw. This is for fortification. So you just basically have 100% uptime on Fortify, which is nice. Point blank, because you're always going to be in the boss's face when you're attacking them. So this is just 30% more damage because you're close to them. Take the attribute wheel here. You take some crit here. Life. Like I said, you want to use a Brutal Restraint. I searched on my POB. Basically, the 3 things that I was looking for, there was one that had it. So I was looking for chance to blind enemies on hit. So I got that here. I was looking for flat % increased life. I got that here. And then I was looking for, what was the last one? Oh, increased dexterity. And I got that one here. So there's a way to search them on POB. You just type in the ones that you want, use that tool. If you're not familiar how to do that, I'm sure there's probably a lot of videos out there that can show you how to search for timeless jewels on POB. It's a game changer instead of having to go in there and copy and paste and copy and paste and copy and paste. So that works our way up to here. We are using claws, obviously, so we're getting extra attack speed from this mastery, and then we're using Nightblade, so we get extra crit multi because our Molten Strike is supported by Nightblade. Let's see. You want to take Frenzy Charge on when you hit a marked enemy here for Frenzy Charge generation against bosses. And this was just a Corrupted Blood jewel that I had with some strength and int on it. Corrupted Blood will wreck you if you're not attacking something, so getting an immunity to Corrupted Blood on a jewel is just a no-brainer in my opinion. So one thing that's kind of interesting too is that Dexterity now gives us no evasion, right, through Magebane, but what we end up getting here is 1% increased evasion per 5 int. So we actually, with our Flask up, I believe we're at 27,000 evasion. Let's see here. 27,500. So it's actually a decent amount of evasion, right? Like, you're not the most immortal like character in the world, but with all the leech, the evasion, and the ghost shrouds that we get from Ghost Dance, it actually ends up being a fairly tanky character. Okay, so these are just more of the tattoos right here for all attributes. You want to come up and get this this intelligence one for 5% increased, and then if you have the money, you can run strength and intelligence split personalities, but those are extremely expensive, and so strength and dex is just much easier. And you want to get a large cluster jewel, and the two that are important here are Fuel the Fight for the mana leech. You do get a little bit of mana on hit from this point right here that we have to take, but an extra little bit of mana leech is always good. And then this one is what I would say is probably the mandatory one, Fan of Blades, for 1 extra proj. Okay, and then just 2 of these split personalities. So that covers all of this. The Ascendancy, you take. You know, I didn't level with this build. I leveled a Templar earlier in the league, so I'm not sure how you would level with it. But most of the time, I think you just go Sanctuary, then Pious Path, then Righteous Providence, and then Inevitable Judgment, right? So this makes us not have to worry about lowering the monster's resistances at all, because we're at 100% crit chance, so that's nice. And then this one gives us, and we're at 100% because we get crit chance per point of strength or int, whichever is lower. So since our 984, we're getting a shit ton of crit chance from there. So as you can see, our crit chance right now is 91.8%. So, and then I think we get a little bit of crit chance somewhere else. Is it maybe? Yeah, we get the last little bit that we need to get capped off is from Battle Mage's Cry. It says buff grants 10% increased crit chance per 5 power. So once you Battle Mage's Cry around a couple enemies, 100%, and you're cruising. Okay. This mastery here you take for no life modifiers on equipped body armor, because as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing that says life on here, which is nice. I didn't even check. It's like I just copy and pasted his build, but man, it's so much fun. I love it. The only other thing that I have to do in this build is to get, I didn't cover the, this part's probably pretty expensive too. The Fractal Thoughts with the 90% cost and reservation were like a divine before he posted the build. I think that they skyrocketed now, and that's without the Molten Strike enchant. So the best thing to do would be see if you can get one with 90% cost. If not, like I said earlier, take the 2 points for the mana reservation efficiency here, and you'll be fine with that. But if you can get one with 90% cost, do that, and then either run labs yourself or just pay someone. I'm just going to pay someone to do it. I've actually never paid for a lab service before, but 2 extra projectiles on Molten Strike. So I would go from 10 to 12 because I do plan on trying to take down some Uber bosses with this build, because I've never done that before. So that's going to be my next thing. I think it's like 5 divines, and I'm sitting on 25 right now, so I have enough to do it. So that covers most of the build. As always, I'll put a link to Captain Lance's page in the video, because his channel is cool. He's always coming up with some funky builds, so check him out if you're not familiar with him. I'll put a link to my POB down in the description below as well, so you can check it out. And yeah, as always, if you have any questions or comments, drop them in the comment section below. I'll check you guys in the next one. Peace out.